Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you are new here. I am Martina Lily and today we are putting to the test the new Gucci concealer and seeing if it is really just worth the price tag, to be honest with you, because it is expensive. Alright, if that sounds interesting to you guys, do the YouTubey things, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get started. You are zoomed in offensively close in my opinion, but hopefully you can get all of the gory details of my under eyes. 4K, no filters, nothing like that. And I just quickly did my foundation and primer, so I used the KVD Pore Primer and the KVD Good Apple Serum Foundation today, and I just avoided my under eyes with the foundation. Everything on my face today will be linked in the description box down below for you guys. They are affiliate links, so if you shop through them, thank you so much. The Gucci concealer. This is the outer carton that it comes in if you're interested. Very stock and standard for Gucci, absolutely beautiful. And then this is the packaging of the actual concealer itself. Very pretty. It's not heavy feeling like it's plastic. It's not like hefty. I don't mind that, but it definitely looks luxe and absolutely beautiful and fits the Gucci aesthetic. I paid 72 Australian dollars for it. Obviously, depending on your country, is going to depend on the amount that you pay. Has 8 ml of product and it says it's made in the UK. The claims of this particular concealer is essentially a multi-use, lightweight, long wear concealer. It says that it is buildable coverage, long wear and transfer resistant, natural finish that lets skin breathe, reckons it has skincare ingredients in it. I mean, every bloody product says that nowadays. It does say it's a glass tube. It doesn't feel like a glass tube, but there you go. Oh yeah, it is a glass tube. There you go. Disregard, glass tube. And it also has an expiry of 24 months, which is pretty decent actually. That's a good expiry. And then it does say that it is a medium to high coverage concealer. So there you go. That's the claims. Now I got the shade 14N Fair, and it's definitely, I wouldn't say this is a neutral. I really feel like this leans really, really yellow, like really quite yellow. So it's definitely not a neutral undertone, beware. And I mean, the 14N is actually deeper than I would anticipate for a fair, at least when because I've used this for a couple of days now, sorry. So I do know my thoughts and feelings on the concealer. I don't know if it's, I think it's actually the yellow undertone that makes it look deeper on my under eyes, sorry, not so much the actual shade, but it's definitely deeper than I would have expected for a fair, but I really do also think that that's the undertone because, yeah, the undertone is just too yellow for me, really. So already shade-wise, if you're a neutral undertone, tread carefully because it is very yellow. I'd almost like pick a cool undertone next time, especially if you have darkness on your under eyes, sorry. Let's go ahead and apply this. I'm going to use color corrector on both sides because I do have darkness and hyperpigmentation and I do need to use color corrector. There's no concealer, even my Urban Decay Quickie concealer, like that's full coverage, and with a color corrector I can just do one layer and it covers it to like my satisfaction. But if I don't use a color corrector, I need to use way more concealer. So I always use a color corrector. And for reference point, I have very, very dry under eyes. I definitely have some wrinkles, but they're not too bad, and some texture. So I like my concealer to be full coverage and like smoothing, if you will, and a little bit hydrating, not too matte. I don't have to have a super hydrating concealer because for some reason my under eyes also don't like them. It's a fine line. These are very difficult, okay? They have very specific demands. Anyway, so I'm going to use the Natasha Denona color corrector today, and this is one of my favorite color correctors, and I have the shade C1 if you're wondering. So that's our starting point with the color corrector. Not looking too bad today. I'm going to do one eye first. And this is the Doe Foot applicator. If you have not seen it, why will you not focus? It's just like a little one. I don't super love it, but it is also, you know, it's quite a small one. So if you like a smaller Doe Foot applicator, you might like it. See how yellow that is? It's not neutral, you guys. This is yellow. So I do not like the shade. And I'm going to take my trusty BK109 and blend this out. Now, as I said, I've worn this a couple of days and I find the best way to blend this out is with a brush if you are wanting the coverage. Now, this claims it's a medium to full coverage concealer. I would say this is a medium coverage. Like, on the lighter end of the medium spectrum, in my opinion, keeping in mind, I think I have a very different version of full coverage compared to other people because I do have more challenging under eyes to cover. And they don't look as dark on camera, you guys, as what they are in real life, and it's because of the lighting. So that is one layer. And it's not looking too bad, but this is definitely like more of a medium coverage than it is a full coverage. It's actually looking really good today. My under eyes, I must have drunk a lot of water yesterday because my under eyes are looking pretty good today. So you can still see a little bit of darkness peeking through. I will say it's very, very lightweight of a concealer. It really doesn't feel like you're wearing any concealer at all. It's more of a matte finish. Like it definitely is more natural leaning on matte, not fully matte, but it's definitely not a super hydrating concealer. So if you are looking for a more hydrating formula, or you know a more drier formula is like really not going to suit your under eyes or your preference, you will not like this concealer. I don't mind it. It's kind of, and if it was any more matte, it would be like I'd be drawing a line, but I find that this is as kind of matte-ish as I can go without it looking terrible on my under eyes. So it's not too bad. It does set down pretty quickly, but I find it's quite easy to work with. Like I can do both eyes at the same time, like put concealer on both eyes at the same time, and it does, you know, apply fine. Also, I have seen a lot of comments about like the scent on this. I can't smell a scent. Like it doesn't have that floral scent, at least from what I can smell, that Gucci's products normally have. It just smells like a concealer. So the scent has not been an issue at all for me, just FYI. So I am going to build this up a touch because this does not have enough coverage for me. When I used this with a sponge, it just ate up all of the coverage completely, which, you know, the sponge can do. So I definitely think if you are looking for something more on the coverage side, use a brush or your finger to blend this out. Okay, so that is layer 2, and layer 2 does a pretty good job. Like it definitely has more coverage than the Tower 28 concealer, for example. Like it is more, it really does have more coverage than that, but it's just, considering they did say this was like a full coverage concealer, it's not my version of a full coverage concealer, if you will. But again, I think you can see like the difference there. Like this eye's looking much nicer, and it is smoothing on the under eye. It really isn't super texturizing or anything like that. And it's still a little bit tacky, so it hasn't like fully set down yet. But I think if you are someone that doesn't want to have to set your under eyes with powder, this concealer will set down and you wouldn't need to set them with powder, especially if you have like normal to dry skin. I do think though, if you like, I personally always set my under eyes. I've tried many a time to not, and it doesn't happen, okay, for me. It ends up a hot mess. But if you're someone that likes that, then I think it'll be fine with this concealer. So I'm gonna now apply it on this side, same process. So that is layer 1, so 2 layers, 1 layer. So you can still see some imperfections peeking through there. You might think having to layer your concealer in like 2 layers is a waste of product, and I respect that. I'm used to it for how I like to do my under eyes. So this could honestly just be very much a me thing. You guys know I layer my concealers like in a couple of layers all the time. So it doesn't really faze me, but you know, if that does faze you and you find that you require the same coverage level as I do, then just keep that in mind. I definitely need to build this concealer up. But if you don't have as much of a challenge with your under eyes as I do, you'll be fine. Like this will be fine for 1 layer. All right, so that is 2 layers on both under eyes. Again, I feel like they're looking quite smooth and lovely, but definitely still have darkness and everything peeking through. Like you can still see this clear, distinct ring I have here. So I'm gonna do 1 more layer. I do find, I will say, that this concealer layers really well. Like it really does layer quite lovely over each other. So the fact that you do, like I do, have to layer it to get the coverage I want, at least, like that's okay, especially because it does layer really lovely and it stays really thin and lightweight on the under eyes. So that is 3 layers and I'm happy with that coverage. Again, I want just a touch more, but I also don't know if it's the coverage or the undertone that's like throwing it off slightly. I really don't, but it really isn't looking too bad. And I think you can see like they look really nice and smooth. So what I'm gonna do is put my cream bronzer on. I'm gonna put Tarte Sculpt Tape, and then we'll come back and we'll set the under eyes, or I'll speed through that and then we'll set the under eyes together. Cream bronzer is all blended out. Can I just tell you, this product becomes more and more of a fave for me every day I use it. Let's go ahead and set these with the Pat McGrath Labs under eye blurring powder. I have used this with my Westman Atelier Pink Bubble powder and also my Make powder, which are like, if I don't know if it's actually, it might not, yes, it'll already be up on my channel, but I just recently did a top 3 favorite products in like my complexion base, and I talk about my under eye powders, and Make, Westman Atelier and this one, spoiler alert, are in my top 3. So I figured we would use this one today. This is a KVD 25 brush, and I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to set the under eyes and the T-zone with it. That's one I set and one I not set. Oh, that is so blurred. That looks really lovely with this powder, you guys. That looks, oh, this is the best it has looked. Wow. But again, if you want a slightly more glowy under eye, you might want to not set it, but geez, that looks really good today. That is both under eyes set, and I think they look really nice. Really, really nice. I really do. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go off camera and finish the rest of my makeup because I'm going to film like an eye look, and then I will come back at the end of it and show you guys what my makeup is looking like. For reference, it is 8 o'clock in the morning, so I'm a little bit later today, and I'll let you guys know what the time is when I come back so that we can see what it's sitting like. All right, I'll see you in a second. All right, friends, it is now 8:35, so 35 minutes since we originally finished this all up. This is how the under eyes are looking. They're not looking too bad, honestly. For me and my under eyes, they're not doing too bad. This is very smoothing, very lightweight. It's hardly looks like I've got any product on my under eyes, which is a massive plus. However, I can see if you have dry under eyes, I don't know if you will super duper like this, honestly. I could see this, or at least setting it with powder, I could see this being dry on a lot of people, like a lot of people. If you have oily skin, you might like it a lot more, I think. It doesn't have the coverage that I'm looking for. It just doesn't. Like, after everything's set and settled down, it's just, I've got too much darkness peeking through still, so I would mix this with a more fuller coverage concealer, if I'm honest, which, to be honest with you, that's not a big deal to me, because apart from the Huda Beauty Faux Filter and the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer, every single other concealer I've ever tried, I need to like mix to create the coverage that I get, or I never get the full coverage that I personally want. Again, I think my version of full coverage is very different to other people's, but that's okay. Overall, I think that it is a solid concealer. It's nowhere near, like if you've got the Tower 28 concealer, or you're trying to pick between the two, for example, this one is a lot more of a matte self-setting formula. So I would go for the Tower 28 if you want something really, really hydrating. I'd say coverage-wise, this one has a smidge more than the Tower 28, but not a dramatic amount. Both layer beautifully. For example, this layers beautifully. Is it worth the money? No. Actually, it's not. Normally, I don't say that. And look, everyone's value of a dollar is very different. And to be honest, if you are someone that has more oilier under eyes and doesn't need as much coverage, you might actually find this is a holy grail for you. But for me, for the $72, it's not worth the coins personally. So if you vibe with my concealer recommendations and like you find that we're pretty much on the same level with what we like and don't like and stuff, then you will find that this is not worth the money for you truly. That's all my thoughts for now on the concealer. It's just fine. Let me know your thoughts. Have you picked up the concealer? Are you considering giving it a go? If you have any further questions or I haven't explained anything correctly or like efficiently enough, just let me know in the comments and I'm happy to follow up with you guys. And if you've made it this far, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you and I hope you have the most amazing day, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye.